Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Could I get roll call, please?
Commissioner Laird,
President accounted for, and welcome all you good Natrona County citizens.
Commissioner Mill,
Here.
Commissioner Nicolason. Here. Commissioner North,
Here.
Chairman Frill.
Here. Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. I have a proclamation that I want to read for October 2020, 2023 is Arts and Humanities Month. Whereas in the heart of the magnificent Wyoming landscape, Natrona County is home to a rich tapestry of culture, history, and artistic expression that spans millennia, contributing depth and vibrancy to our community. And whereas the arts and humanities hold the power to inspire creativity, foster curiosity, and honor the diverse cultural traditions and have thrived in our region long before recorded history. And whereas Natrona County is graced with a wealth of cultural resources, including heritage sites that chronicle the ancient stories of indigenous people, museums that showcase Wyoming's rich history and environment, libraries that provide an accessible, safe space to learn and inspire in a passionate community of artists, historians, and scholars dedicated to preserving and sharing these diverse narratives. And whereas the arts and humanities enrich our lives, provide a lens into our past, and offer a platform for the mutual exchange of ideas and perspectives in the spirit of intellectual and artistic curiosity. And whereas the arts community in Natrona County bolsters our local economy, contributes to the vibrancy of our cultural community, and inspires visitors to come to Natrona County for the first time and to return again for decades to come. And now, therefore, I, Stephen Friel, Chair of the Natrona County Board of County Commissioners, do hereby proclaim the month of October 2023 as Arts and Humanitarians Month in Natrona County. We invite all residents, neighbors, and visitors to join us in celebrating and supporting the arts and humanities in Natrona County. Explore the museums, libraries, and artistic offerings that create color in our community. Let us come together to recognize and appreciate our local artists, historians, cultural organizations, and institutions as they continue to inspire and entertain us and celebrate the enduring traditions of Natrona County. Okay, we will move on to approval of the consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we? Oh. Yeah, before we move on, we'll make sure that you get that. Appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so we'll move on to the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Commissioner Nicolason, second by Commissioner Laird. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make an amendment to the agenda tonight under number 6, and add 6B, Porter Creek recommendation on geological renaming, and 6C, an RFP for the investment of funds.
All right, I've had a motion made to add 6B as Porter Creek renaming and 6C as an RFP for investment fund. Do I have a second on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a second, although it's the naming, not the renaming, I believe.
Yes, you are correct. Sorry.
All right, second made by Commissioner Nicolason. Any discussion on adding those items? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes. Okay, I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of notice of application of new retail liquor license, restaurant liquor license, Casper, and I am going to butcher this, but it is Hokkaido LLC, doing business as Hokkaido Ramen House. The hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of the Natrona County Commission, and other applicable laws. May I have a report from the Madam Clerk?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, an application for a new restaurant liquor license has been made by Casper Hokkaido LLC, DBA Hokkaido Ramen House, which is located at 581 North Poplar Street. The required advertising has been done and the application is complete. So therefore, I suggest that this license be granted, and I will stand for any questions.
Any questions of the clerk? Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of the new retail, this is a restaurant liquor license, new restaurant liquor license, to approach the lectern.
Hi. Hello, how are you today?
Good. Could you state your name and address, please?
My address is at 581 and Poplar Street.
Okay. And your name?
Well, my name is called Xue Ying Wu.
Okay. You want to speak in favor of the license?
You want to ask me some question or what? Oh, our gonna to sell the sake, which is the Japanese alcohol, and the Japanese beer. We want to give our client more choice to choose their drinks.
Okay.
So basically this is why we want to apply the license.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions?
I do. How do you pronounce Hokkaido or Hokkaido or the name of the business?
Oh, Hokkaido.
How do you say it?
Hokkaido.
Hokkaido.
Yes.
It's a very good place. I like the ramen.
Thank you. You have been in our restaurant before?
Yes, I have. It's very nice. Did a good
Thank
job
you.
over there.
And anything else?
Any other questions?
And I think the application is for a restaurant liquor license, not a retail liquor license. Is that your understanding?
The alcohol, yeah.
Yeah.
The liquid, yeah.
Just to sell sake and
Just
Japanese
a
beer.
separate sake, Japanese alcohol, and Japanese beer.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
That's it? Oh,
That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You could hurry.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of the new restaurant liquor license? Okay, at this time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition to the new restaurant liquor license to please approach the lectern. Okay, there being no others to speak for or against the new restaurant liquor license, I now declare the public hearing closed. Discussion.
I think it's a nice little restaurant, Mr. Chairman.
No discussion for me. If there's none, I'd make a motion.
Okay, motion?
I'll second that.
Did you make a motion?
I guess I did.
Okay,
I didn't know I did.
Long way around.
all right. Commissioner Milne has made a motion, and it's been seconded by Commissioner North to approve discussion.
But maybe we should have. Okay, so I would make a motion to approve the new restaurant liquor license for Casper Hokkaido LLC DBA Hokkaido Ramen House.
Okay, now I'll second.
All right. So motion's been made by Commissioner Milne, second by Commissioner North. Discussion. All right, with no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, I now declare the public hearing open for the consideration of amended viewers report, proposed alteration of Grass Creek Road in Vista West Number 1 subdivision. This hearing will be conducted in accordance with state statutes, rules of Natrona County Commission, and other applicable laws. May we have staff report?
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, this is a petition for the alteration of a portion of Grass Creek Road. This was a petition by Bob Doctor and several others from Vista West 1 that is asking for the alteration of essentially a 20-foot portion of the road. That's the reason for the amended viewers report. Is the original report did have a longer stretch of the road listed in that of roughly 192 feet, I believe. This is a request to alter 20 feet of the road and turn that back to private status. This is currently private roads that were dedicated for public use back in 1995. Previously, when the commission had heard public comment, there was some misinterpretation of statute, and you were informed that you were not allowed to hear, or you were not allowed to consider what was said at that hearing, and it was essentially public comment that was just given. That was incorrect, hence the amount of time that's taken between that last hearing and this hearing to clean up some issues with, again, with that petition and with what you can and cannot consider. Essentially, at this time, you can consider everything that has been presented to you, whether it was written or verbally stated at that last hearing. Because so much time has passed, we did feel it was appropriate to open the public hearing again and let citizens come in and voice their concerns or their opinions in favor or against this petition. At this time, we do have Ms. Turner here along with Mr. Oliver to give you an update on her recommendation and discussions that she's had with County Fire and EMS.
Mr. Turner?
Thank you, Commissioner. So tonight, we just wanted to readdress the recommendations, which stipulated that it would be up to EMS standards to determine what the size of the gate and the access should be at that point. And so Brian and I have had a couple of conversations and have come up with a distance of 14 feet for the gate in order to provide enough access. And that's still at this point in time, with the condition of the road as it is, fire would still use the other entrance as their first access point.
That's correct. Yeah, with some of the concern was the increased amount of time to get into the North Grass Creek addresses using 6W versus going through the neighborhood. If the road was to be opened now, the barricade removed and no other improvements be done, the road surface now, I'm sure it's passable. I'm sure we could get our trucks over it. but we would not use that as a primary response route. We would still go around. There would be times if the road was open, I'm sure that some of our drivers would use it for various things. But the time difference, I believe one of our other employees stated to some of the residents that it was a 5 to 7 minute difference, and that's misleading. The response time into the North Grass Creek addresses from our station on dry roads is about 5 to 7 minutes. Going around up to the 6WN to access those addresses there, it probably does add, a few, maybe a minute or so. But the other consideration too is we're on a paved access road with a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. If the road was open, one of the things that I have to consider is we're not going to take our 40-foot-long, 60,000-pound fire truck emergent through a residential neighborhood if we don't have to. When we have public access that goes around that's paved versus dirt road, it's an improved road. So it's kind of a catch-22. There are times that we would use it, but we would not start using it primarily for the route to get to those addresses.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner North.
this is for Brian. Brian, how long have you been on the fire department?
This is my 18th year with the district.
Okay, during that 18 years, have you ever used that access point to go across in between Vista West 1 and 3?
We have not. I can't recall every instance, but I know for the majority of the time, I know that when I was hired, and still to this day, for our probation period is 1 year. During that 1 year, we have 3 different tests. We have a 1-month test from the date of hire, and 30 days later, we give you a test. In that 1-month test, the Grass Creek address breakdown is on our test. So our drivers and our firefighters know and study that if it's 1807 or higher, they have to go around. If it's 1767 or lower, they go through Zero Road up to Grass Creek. So that break has been not used as a road for a long time as far as emergency access goes. In the 18 years that I've been there, I can't recall one time that our agencies used it.
Okay, since with that the case, and I know there's a fence that goes across that road right now currently, and I've heard testimony in the past that there has been a fence for at least 40 years across there one way or another. During the time frame that you have been on the department, do you remember a fence being on that road?
It sure is. I mean, and I definitely don't go to the neighborhood all the time, but from a few years ago, I remember I am stuck on some type of a cable being across there before the fence was myself.
But
I'm not sure if that's
So it was
accurate or not.
blocked. It was blocked one way or another. So
Ever
you
since
could,
that I remember, yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. Well, okay. Well, that's what I needed to know. I appreciate it.
Okay.
So I had one question.
Commissioner Laird.
So you don't see this as a safety issue, leaving it the way it is?
Leaving it the way, so it's kind of, if it's a catch-22. When you look at it from my perspective, I have to look at it from 2 different sides. I have to look at it from the operational side, which is the responding to the emergencies and the driving. And the other side that I have to look at is the public safety code enforcement side of things. And that's why I believe that the Christie's recommendations for this situation, although they might not be ideal 100% for everybody, I believe it's a fair compromise. And the reason I say that is because I understand not wanting the increased traffic from the road being open to the public. But that Vista West out there only has one access point. The Grass Creek Road access is the second means of egress out of the Vista West subdivision. So our thought is if we could keep the public out of there for the residents like they're wanting, but put up some type of a gate and come to an agreement on some type of emergency egress access through there to keep that open. I was hoping that that'd be a fair compromise for all parties involved. So yes, it is a problem with that road being closed. It should be open so it doesn't have to be necessarily a fire or medical emergency, but I know that there's been a lot of infrastructure work out there. Water and sewer lines have been in, and I know that the entrance up there has been closed. I think it was last year, the year before or something, or it was under construction, so there was delayed in and out of that neighborhood. So having that access through Grass Creek to the south is extremely important. On the other hand, on the operational side of it, it has been closed, physically closed for long enough that we've made arrangements to take care of that and mitigate that problem. So it's kind of a two-sided problem for us.
My question though was more pointed. It sounds to me like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, it's not a safety issue for the fire department.
It has the potential to be, but and I don't want to sound like I'm prioritizing 911 calls because I'm not, but for our normal responses into that neighborhood, if the road is closed, we'll make it work. So to answer your question directly, it has the potential to be, but it is not on a daily basis.
But it hasn't been the whole time you've worked there.
Correct.
Hadn't been for 40 years.
As far as emergency response, yes, I do believe that the residents have gone that way because of construction, infrastructure projects. But as far as having to access that in an emergency situation, I don't believe that that's
Yeah, it's never presented an emergency situation as long as you've worked out there.
that's so far correct. Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Nicolason.
Do either of you think there are policy implications for us if we look at what is, I think, undoubtedly a public right? You can't adversely possess land from the government, period. Do you think if we say or accept the notion that, well, because of 20 or 40 years, there are these improvements within the right-of-way or within the easement area or within the platted road, whatever the case may be, because there's a fence there, because nobody's using it, do you think that from a policy perspective, we're going to have issues in the future in other situations where there's a public right and maybe we're setting a precedent here?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Nicholson, I believe that in the public health, safety, and welfare aspect of subdivisions and ingress and egress for those residents, that the priority is keeping access points open. And by closing access points or reducing them to one, we have a potential for a large problem. And by setting that as a precedent, we're going to increase those problems exponentially across the county. So our subdivision regulations require 2 points of access for subdivisions that have, I think it's 6 or more lots. And it is for those reasons, in order to give all those residents and the ability to leave that subdivision and access primary roads from their residents. So I would strongly suggest that we keep those open.
Commissioner North.
All right, so were there actually 2 access points when that subdivision was developed? And if so, Vista West 3 is all private property, private roads with private access. Vista West 1 has made theirs public access, even though they're private roads. So if Vista West 1 turned around and came back in and actually replatted that, they could close off that section of that road without the county doing anything about it. Because you legally can't have access right now coming from Vista West 1 into 3 because it's private property and they don't have legal access, right? Is that correct? Vista West 1 cannot go north, but Vista West 3, they want it so Vista West 3 can come south. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Mr. North, the subdivision to the north, Vista West 3, roads are private. And so in order to utilize those roads, you need to be a resident of that subdivision. Vista West 1 chose in 1995 to dedicate their specific roads in their subdivision to the use of the public. So you are correct. Vista West 3 could come through Vista West 1 from the point of 1995 and beyond.
So if Vista West 1 decided to make their roads private again, then Vista West 3 could not come through there. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, that would be correct.
Okay.
Commissioner Nicholas.
So I think there's, to Commissioner North's question, though, if there's a public right because of a dedication in Vista 1, Vista 1 doesn't have the legal right by itself to remove that public dedication. There's actually a process for that. So I just don't know if we're clear on that or not.
They voted to make it public. They have to have a majority of the vote to make it public, make that road a private road public, or have public access. With a majority of vote, they can turn around and make those public access roads private again in Vista West 1.
If the word public is on a recorded plat,
No, it's public access. It's not on the reported plat.
well, I would
'cause they were
confer with
dedicated.
legal counsel.
So, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner North and Commissioner Nicolais, and my understanding is they were dedicated to the public. The process to alter a publicly dedicated road is this one. It would have to go before the commissioners. So in my mind, there's two classifications for roads. There's private roads and there's public roads. And those roads are either, county owned and county maintained, or they're public roads such as these. But there's still a process set out in statute to alter them. So just the vote of the homeowners association alone is not enough to change them back to private. It would have to undergo this process.
So you can go from private to public with the vote of the homeowners. Majority of the homeowners, but you can't go the other direction.
There was more than that. The county actually accepted the dedication at a public meeting.
So I have a question of our county attorney, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Laird.
I'm trying to get this right in my head so if it's dedicated to the public, who owns the road? It's just the use is dedicated, but who actually owns it?
I think that's the question that we're not quite sure of. The county is the body that you go to alter a road, but the county doesn't have an ownership interest in it necessarily,
Right.
unless it's a county dedicated road.
So that's my question, and Mr. Nicolais and I have brought that up in previous hearings. My concern always is that there may be an adverse possession right that exists there that we have no right to rule on. That's something that would be taken to court. You can't get adverse possession of governmentally owned property.
I would
Period.
counter that the county certainly has an interest in these public roads.
Yeah, but it's the ownership that counts, that I've seen in some of the cases I've read, as to whether something can be abandoned and taken over, because there is evidence of that here, that's happened. But, so I'm trying to understand so should the only people that were able to comment on this, should they be the ones that are in Vista 1 or Vista 3? I mean, whose road is it? See, that's the question. And I'm sorry, everybody out there, I don't have the answers to this, and I don't want to put anybody in litigation either, but it is a confusing issue because of the time involved, and nobody can tell me who really owns that road. Because I think if you're the owner of the road, you may have more to say about it than anybody else. And the way we could find that out, probably, Mr. Chairman, you probably dealt with it before, and that's have some title company take a look at it and tell us. But I don't, with what I'm hearing so far, I know how all of these folks are thinking and who's for it and who's against it. I'm leaning towards the people whose road it is, but I'm not sure whose road it is or who has an interest in it or whatever. So that's my issue here.
Any other questions of staff? Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in favor of amended viewers report proposed alteration of Grass Creek Road and Vista West Number 1 subdivision to please approach the lectern.
Hello again. I'm Bob Doctor, the president of the Vista West One Homeowners Association. I live at 7617 North Lance Creek Road in Vista West One. Some of these questions, I'm going to be as short as I can here, but Mr. Laird, I believe that the people in Vista West One own the road, but we dedicated it to the use of the public. And the reason we did that was because we wanted the sheriff's department to come slow people down. And there was also a concern at the time that people would not be able to get loans for their homes on a private road, which was nonsense. There's private roads all over the place. But at the time, nobody was really driving through there. There's been a fence up there forever. So we never dreamed this would happen. But in short, we believe this is a win-win for both subdivisions. It will give access to Vista West 3, and we're happy to do that for our neighbors. When there's construction, we've done that several times. We've taken the fence down so they could get through there. And if there's an emergency, of course we want emergency vehicles to get through there. But at the same time, we have friends and neighbors that live right next to that road. It's going to be a mess if they have to put up with traffic right next to their house. And you've heard from Mr. Wallin that his kids were, and he can fill this in a little bit when he's up here, were threatened by the traffic through there and the dust and the added cost of construction and our kids trying to get to the school bus. We don't need more traffic, but we are sure happy to allow our neighbors in Vista West 3 to get through there if they really do. So the bottom line is we believe that's our road and we should have the ability to ask you and expect you to approve our petition. And we think Christie's proposal to you that we put a gate in there, we're fine with that. I think it was a brilliant idea, and we think it's to the benefit of people that live on Grass Creek Road, but it also gets access in an emergency. It's a win-win. And that's my short version. Thank you very much, and especially your staff again for all the work.
I had a question.
Yes, sir.
Chairman.
Commissioner Laird.
So are you able to represent to me that all of the people in Vista One are for your proposal, especially the people that live right where it'll really affect them?
One of them is right here, but we voted to do this at a meeting of our entire homeowners association a long time ago.
And you're the spokesman, so you think this is,
Yeah.
you feel you guys are the owners, it's closest to you, and you think this is a reasonable thing, and that's what you're representing to me?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you very
And
much.
I'm speaking on behalf of the vote of the owners in Vista West One who voted to do this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's Brad Olson. I live at 1767 North Grass Creek, which is right in that proximity. I didn't file anything. Looking through the petition that was submitted, and you guys have the paperwork, there was one year that doesn't show up on Google Earth, and that was 1994. And I've got a copy of it here if you want it. It was prior to any development of the house that was built before I moved in. There was a landowner that I bought my house from that put a house on there. It actually shows, and you can look at it, it's very grainy because they didn't have the technology back then. There was a fence there, and it was basically a field all the way through there. There's no road connecting through. And when you read through some of your other documentation that you have here, in 2002, in one of your pictures in here, it shows a lot of dirt activity in front of these two houses. And that's actually in 2000 and 2001 and 2002. That's when the septic line went in. There was a pressure line and a gravity flow line that went right through that connected 3 and 1 together. So that's what it shows, that dirt there. And if you actually can look at the photo, and I looked at it a little closer when I could zoom in on my computer, you can actually see piles of pipe and material and bedding and everything sitting in that zone. They used it as a construction site, which is why it looks like a road in 2002. When I moved in, there was a wire fence. It's always been roped off since I've lived there. Talking to a lot of other folks, it's always been roped off. I've had several neighbors to the north. The neighbor that lived there when I moved in basically told me he'd lived there 20 years and it's always been closed. So it's never been a need. It's never been anybody's direct access has never been an issue that I'm aware of. Never had any issues with it. It has been opened up for construction reasons, the sewer line for one. And I know unless you want this piece of paper, it was issued in 95.
Don't need it, I can see.
Yeah.
For some reason, it didn't make it past all the other. Yep. You can have all. But anyways, I just wanted to say that, and then my neighbor, he's here as well. I'm not sure if he's gonna speak, but he has the same issues. We like to keep that closed just for a lot of reasons, and if it needs to be opened, it can be opened, but it's never needed to in the entire time I've lived there, and I moved in 2002. So
So you're in favor of the gate then?
I am.
Good evening. My name is Luke Walleen. I live at 1807 North Grass Creek Road, so I am the southernmost property in Vista West 3. I am in support of the gate. We've had it open a couple of times, as many people have spoken about tonight, for construction and a few things. The few days it's been down, we've had kind of chaos. We've had people drive up through our yard. As Bob kind of touched on, we had some folks who missed the road itself and came up into our driveway, almost hit my kids on their bikes. So long and short of it is, I support putting a gate in there. Any questions?
Doesn't look like it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else to wish to speak in favor of? Good evening.
I can walk a little better tonight. Tell you, a broken ankle will change your life. My name is Carrie Amy. I live at 2034 Willow Creek in Vista West 3. We've been there for almost 30 years. I just wanted to share this little experiment that we did tonight, just to make sure it was real recent. At the corner of 7 Mile and 6 Mile and 0 Road. There, 6 Mile and 0 Road. That would be the difference that a emergency vehicle from Robertson Road would take. If you use 6 Mile to go up and go into Vista West 3, to get to the point of our discussion, it takes 3 minutes and 43 seconds going the speed limit. If I used Vista West 1's Grass Creek Road, I was not even able to go the speed limit because of all the potholes and basically the state of the road. And so it took me 2 minutes. That's 1 minute and 41 seconds longer. I'm not sure where the 5 to 7 minutes keeps coming from, but I don't have cool little red lights and sirens. So I would venture to say that there's no doubt in my mind that if I could go faster on 6 Mile, I would beat the time that you have to drive up Vista West 1. So that's that's one thing that I wanted to make sure we talked about. I guess what I'm saying is, to me, with all due respect to all the people that are saying it's 5 to 7 minutes, I realize that if they're driving a tanker, every turn costs them a little bit, but 3 minutes, 43 seconds going the speed limit, that is the most you can even have in the discussion. Does that make sense? The other thing is, you know, we've been listening to this for a while. It's been taking a lot of time of yours and all of ours. Honestly, it feels like much ado about nothing, because we've had that fence, that gate there for so long, and in our own board meetings, we have talked about, you know, we've got to fix that, we've got to make it better. And we were literally just getting ready to put a nice gate in when the water project was forced upon us. We got the fence down, and ironically, when the construction guys were not there and they had it open before they finished closing up the fenced area, we asked them to put cones there, and they did. You know what happened? The people that live right there, they took the cones down. They drove right over them. That's the kind of behavior that we don't want to have happen in 3. We don't want to have to pay for our roads more than we already do. So we were already planning on putting this gate in. That was all part of it. And I don't know what just happened. Do I hit it?
No, it's on.
Hello? Yeah, I hit it. Oh, now it's not.
Just get closer. Yeah.
So, while I appreciate the situation you feel yourselves in, I want to remind you what you just kind of went over. Vista West 3, we never dedicated those. Those are private roads. You could do whatever you want. Really, seriously, you could do whatever you want. And 3 still has a right to put up a gate there, right? So all this much ado about something ought to be just go ahead, let Vista West 1 have their privatization. So then it makes more sense for Vista West 1 and 3 to share in the cost of the gate that we've been planning for a long, long time. Does that clarify a little bit why some of us are just scratching our heads going, what are you doing?
I just want to make sure I understand. You're for the gate?
I am for I'm for privatizing that 20 feet, and we're already doing the gate, so honestly, or we already want to do a gate. Honestly, it feels a little bit overreach on your part to say you have to put in a gate. Well, we're gonna put in a gate. We want to put in a gate because that was a mess, having the construction guys tear it down, put up barricades. It didn't work very well. So we were already in that. We don't need it forced on us. We're already doing it. And unless you're going to start paving and plowing our roads to the tune of a lot of money, I don't appreciate, to the true sense of that word, I'm not sure I understand why it is such a big deal. I will say, you asked a question earlier about, we've been there almost 30 years. When we first moved there, I remember before the fire department did the kind of stuff they're doing now, before they had the technology to have the maps in their trucks and that, I remember hearing sirens coming up Vista West 1, and then they'd turn around, and then if they came in 3, we'd kind of go, oh no, which one of our neighbors? Because, they didn't know. But the fire department absolutely knows. They've got a great system now. They never make that mistake. You never hear those sirens coming up 1 and then going back and coming around. Vista West 4 is farther away. I mean, I think that we live in the country and we don't expect to have an ambulance right next to us. If you're calling an ambulance from the Wyoming Medical Center, they're not going to come down Zero Road. They're going to come all the way up to the light, take a left on 6 Mile. I'm sorry, I'm out of time. I just, with all due respect to everything you're doing here, do you see why some of us are just going, really? Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in favor of?
My name's Robert Fringer. I'm at 1833 Grass Creek. I'm one house up from Luke. Luke, myself, and one other property are the furthest in to Vista West 3. Ann is going to come up here and talk about community safety. I had a devastating thing at the house here a few years back. It took county 7 minutes to get to my place from the time I made the 911 call. Mills ambulance was there, excuse me, just a couple of minutes later, and then hospital was there about 5 minutes later. That response time in Casper itself, with traffic and everything else, I think is golden. I am completely against anything that might open that road up. And I just wanted to put that out there. Thank you.
Favor of the gate?
I'm sorry?
I need to hear that. Are you in favor of the gate or not?
The gate is great. I am totally against opening Grass Creek up.
I just wanted to make it clear.
Yes, sir. I understand.
Anyone else wish to speak in favor of? Okay, at this time, I'd ask those individuals who wish to speak in opposition of amended viewers' report, proposed alteration of Grass Creek Road in Vista West to please approach the lectern.
Yes. I'm Jack Branson. I live 1709 Willow Creek. And I have a question for you. You said 17 or 1800s responses off of 6WN and 1700 would be response off of Grass Creek for fire?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
Okay, so 1709 where I am, that means response should be coming off of Zero Road onto Grass Creek and then through that little 20 feet, or Willow Creek, I mean.
Yeah.
But I'm on Willow Creek.
Yeah,
So-
Willow Creek would be, it's totally different. We use that strictly for, I'm sorry if I'm not saying it in the right spot. We use the address breakdown strictly for the Grass Creek addresses.
Okay. Now,
Okay,
Willow Creek becomes Grass Creek about 2 houses west of me, or east of me. There's no different road, it's just a big circle. Grass Creek, or Willow Creek comes in, circles around, becomes Grass Creek, and then leads back out. So that's the first thing, I cleared that up. Second, the road that connects Buck Creek and Grass Creek is Lance Creek, correct? It's a public or private road? As far as I know, that's a public road, not part of the subdivision, it's public road. So if Grass Creek is private, Buck Creek is private, and we've completely blocked off access to a public road. I don't understand how that's supposed to work. Yeah, now, if all we're talking about is that 20 feet that was platted when the subdivisions were laid out, that was platted as being Grass Creek going all the way from Zero up to Grass Creek in Vista West 3 and then feeding out onto Willow Creek. So that was platted originally. Part of that now is a pretty nice lawn. Somebody's put in a good deal of work in that area that was platted in. I agree with you that a lot of this is much ado about nothing. If all we're talking about is putting a gate or restricting access to necessary access and not just people running to work, whatever, I don't have any heartburn with that. But when we start saying, okay, we're going to close this and you can't come back out onto Grass Creek, I got a letter to Lance Creek. I got a letter from an attorney. Stop right now. You can't use this anymore. Can't go out your back gate. Well, I'm not sure that's right. Well, maybe, as to your question about who owns the roads, maybe this needs to be tabled until some of those questions get answered. The county rules for subdivisions say that over a certain number of residences have to have 2 points of access. Are those rules still in effect? Do they count? Or is it, well, I closed this off, nobody said anything, so now it doesn't count anymore? So there's some questions that need to be answered. As far as a gate going in there, I don't have any heartburn with that. I don't think very many people do. I can't speak for everybody in the subdivision, but I don't think there is a lot of problem with that. It's not an ideal solution. You know, if there is an emergency and they need to get there, how do you get through the gate? So questions that need to be answered, as far as a gate by itself, I really don't care. As far as closing access to Lance Creek and saying, well, I can't drive from Zero Road to Lance Creek so that I can get in the back gate to my pasture, I got a little heartburn with that. Oh, look, you put a private road in, so now you can't get to a public road, and I can't use that. So I think a lot more research needs to be done on this to see. You know, if they're talking about simply making that 20 feet or whatever it is they're counting there back to Vista West 1 and saying, now this is private road. Well, that's private road, but Grass Creek from Zero Road to Lance Creek is still public road until the commission decides, no, it's not. Just a few little questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, just for clarification purposes, Lance Creek would not be blocked with this 20-foot section. If the entire road was vacated, then there could be an issue with Lance Creek, but just with that one 20-foot section, it's not blocked off.
Good.
Question for our attorney.
Commissioner Laird.
I'm asking all of our attorneys this. I'm directing it to you though, because you're the chief attorney. Is this really a legal question that needs to be decided by a court? Or do you think we actually have jurisdiction to decide? I didn't get the opinion that we have jurisdiction to decide who owns this property.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Laird, yes, I think the commissioners do have jurisdiction to consider this petition to alter it. There's a specific statutory process where citizens can petition the commissioners to alter county and publicly owned roads. And I don't see any, issue with determining the ownership. It's a publicly dedicated road. It's owned, I guess, for lack of a better word, but it's owned by the public. The county doesn't maintain it, but the county does have the statutory right to consider a petition to alter it. So yes, I think it's appropriate that you consider it.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to this issue?
Before my 5 minutes start, I can answer the ownership question. That all of the roads in the Vista subdivisions were dedicated to the homeowners associations by the developers. I didn't want the clock to start.
Now, you're a clever orator, I'll tell you that.
Well, I've lived in my home for 45 years, and I've had a lot of experience in that area. And I've seen the documents. I'm not just coming up with it. But early on, the developers dedicated the roads. They actually deeded the roads. There are deeds in the courthouse here where they deeded the roads to the homeowners association. And they did it very quickly. They were going to make these changes when 80% of the lots were sold in the subdivisions. They were going to make those transfers. Well, they did them much more quickly than that because they decided if they did it right away, then the homeowners associations would have to pay for the maintenance on the road. And so they got rid of that liability as quickly as they could. But there are deeds for each subdivision in the courthouse here where the developers deeded the roads to the homeowners associations.
Okay. Could I get your name and address, ma'am?
My name is Ann Robinson. I live at 1923 North Grass Creek Road. I've lived there for 45 years. I raised my kids there, and they had been, when they were growing up, they could freely move between Vista West 1 and 3. Actions speak louder than words. The petitioners have done nothing regarding their promises to keep the road open for emergency responders and for the residents of Vista West 3. They have continued to cause further damage to the road. If their true intention is not to continue to block the road, which has been determined by the county to be illegal, they would be doing these things now, and they would not have asked to undedicate only 20 feet of the road. That's for the purpose of closing it off. The homes near that 20 feet section of the road are in no more danger than the rest of us who live on Grass Creek Road. We all have a 60-foot road right-of-way in front of our homes and exactly the same setback requirements. The adjacent property owners have not had exclusive use of that section of the road, which is dedicated to the public, so they can't claim that it belongs to them. The plan that I am offering, and I think that it's a good plan because it should take care of everything for long term. The plan requires cooperation between the two subdivisions to ensure the safety of their families. And yes, it is a safety issue because there are times we would have no way in or out and emergency would have no way in or out. It should be your first priority as well. It would incorporate Christy Turner's recommendations with some amendments and additional conditions. It must be a minimum now, he said, of 14 feet wide. And by the way, the 5 to 7 minutes came directly from the fire district, and he mentioned that. It must be unlocked to ensure immediate access for all emergency responders and for the families in Vista West 3 to have immediate access to their second road in and out without requiring the assistance or permission from anyone. There are times that Grass Creek Road has been and will be the only way in and out for families living in Vista West 3 when the Willow Creek 6WN access is closed. An agreement should be prepared and signed by a legal agreement by both subdivisions and filed with the Natrona County Clerk that includes the following stipulations. The acknowledgement that Grass Creek Road is an existing platted road from Zero Road to Willow Creek Road. If it weren't, we wouldn't be here discussing this now. That the access road between the two subdivisions will never be closed regardless of whether the status of the roads in either subdivision is public or private. Each subdivision must agree to maintain their portion of the approximate 400-foot connector road in passable conditions for emergency and vehicular traffic, and the illegal barricades should come down immediately. This agreement will ensure that all emergency vehicles will be able to respond to both subdivisions with the most efficient response time, and also when it is the only way in and out of Vista West 3. Vista West 3 will continue to be in compliance with the Natrona County subdivision regulations. They will also continue to be in compliance with the International Fire Code, which also requires 2 roads in and out. And Vista West 3 families will be able to use their second access road as needed. It will be impossible for vehicles of any type to speed through the connector road when they have to stop and open and close a gate, and the safety of all of the families in the subdivision will be protected to the greatest extent possible, short of opening the road with no gate. And you can tell this, so if you ask them to do that, you can tell them if they do not agree to those terms, your choice would be option number 1, which would be to deny the petition and require the illegal barricades to come down. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak in opposition to?
My name's Helen Osterman. I live at 1895 North Willow Creek in Vista West 3. When I bought into the subdivision, it had 2, you're given a plat of the thing, and it shows you have 2 spaces, and they said that they couldn't be closed because you had to have that. I don't care whether there's a gate there or not, as long as it's left open, because I'm sorry, if in an emergency, you don't have time to go looking for somebody with a key. And I don't care if they give one out to everybody that lives out there. If you only use it once in a lifetime, you're probably going to forget where the heck you put it. We've had times where it's been blocked off because of an accident, because of snow, because of construction. And just because somebody says, well, can't you change your doctor's appointment? Somebody shouldn't have to totally change their lives because something else is going on. And as I said before, when there's an emergency, you don't have time. It's called an emergency for a reason. You don't have time to go looking for a key or asking somebody's permission or something like that. And as for that road not being open, when I moved there like 35 years ago, that road was open. And yes, different residents that have lived there by the border between the 2 subdivisions have taken it into their own hands to put up fences. But you got to look at the kind of fences until the last few years. I don't know. I'm not good with dates. I can't tell you exactly how long they've had the wooden fence up there. But a lot of people in 3 have complained about it being up, that nothing can get through there ever since whoever it was put it up. In the beginning, there would be wire, woven wire, and most of the fence that was there was on the ground. So yeah, there was a fence, but we got to really look at what kind of a fence that we were talking about. The reason a lot of people haven't done anything more about it is just because we're trying to get along with our neighbors and not start a big to-do. We just want to get along with people. It's Wyoming, you know? But the fence that they've put up in the last several years it's a nice fence. But I want to be able, if something happens, to get through. Our environment is changing. We didn't have the problem this summer, but the summer before, there were wildland fires like to the south of our subdivisions out there that were moving in our direction. And with wind and all of the grasslands and stuff around us, you don't know what's going to happen. So I'm not just talking a fire at somebody's house. I mean, it could be anything like that. And the difference between 1 to 3 minutes, 3 to 4 minutes, you're looking at brain dead for emergency response, from 4 minutes to 7 minutes if somebody's had a stroke or a heart attack or something like that. And I mean, there's little kids out there. You never know what sort of thing a little kid can get into. We've got, when I lived in Douglas before we came up here, at the end of our street, there was some kind of a open sewer thing. Some kid got in it and drowned. All around our subdivisions out there, there's water and irrigation and stuff. And if they couldn't get through to those kids in time, like they couldn't get through to that kid when we lived in Douglas in time, and we lived right down the street. But to climb through and get through everything, that child died. And I'm sorry, you just don't want to see a kid die because they were little and didn't understand that they shouldn't go in these areas. But as I say, there's a difference. An emergency is called an emergency for a reason. You can't plan on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in opposition to?
Marv Robinson, I live at 1923 Grass Creek, and I see that somebody was saying that we couldn't, the roads were private and only residents can use them. But our roads in Vista West are private, but they are fully accessible to the public, because there's plenty of people that come out there. And so they're accessible to the public, and then that's about all I got to say. Other than I don't understand why this has been a road, it's been, and I don't know why we're closing this, or anybody could say it's been a road. I used to drive across there. And then not long ago, when they had the construction, we drove across there. We used to drive through there quite a while ago. But anyway, that was my main thing, was we're a private road. The public, it's accessible to the public to drive around to the garage sales. That's all I have. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak in opposition to? Okay, there being no others to speak for or against the amended viewers report, proposed alteration of Grass Creek Road and Vista West Number 1 subdivision, I now declare the public hearing closed. Do I have a motion from the commission?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Nicolason.
for discussion, I would make a motion to leave the subject road dedicated to the public
Motion's been made to leave the, for discussion, to leave the roadway public. Do I have a second? Okay, I don't have a second. Do I have another motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion under summary that we select alternative 3, according to the viewer's response. Change the dedication of the subject road to private use by owner of Vista West number 1 subdivision and add an appropriate gate to provide access, egress between the 2 subdivisions by the owners of both Vista West 1 and Vista West 3 subdivisions and emergency services.
Summarize that to option number 3, motion made by Commissioner North. Do I have a second on that?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Laird.
I'm considering seconding it, but I want to have a little discussion before the vote. Is that appropriate?
We can have discussion, but I need a second before we discuss.
I can't discuss it before I second it?
No.
Because my problem is the
See, now
legality.
you're starting to discuss it.
I
so-
know I am. I'm trying to slip that in.
I know you-
Make the basic-
Did that motion go away?
Well, we don't have a second on it yet. So do I have a second on it?
I'd sure like to resolve this for these people, but I just don't understand the legality here yet.
Okay, so I don't have a second on that. Do I have another motion?
I'm gonna make-
Commissioner Milne.
For discussion, I want to make just a general motion that we alter the road to private use for Vista West 1. And then we can discuss, and then we can make any amendments that we need to. So we can move forward, because I've got some questions too, since the discussions from the public that I'd like staff to be able to answer.
Was that,
But without
I will
discussion, we can't get to
second,
that point.
I will second that for discussion purposes.
Motion made by Commissioner Milne, second by Commissioner North. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner North, Laird.
I've been in a lot of lawsuits and they were all difficult, but this is more difficult because it's our people. And I lean towards whoever really owns the road, whoever started owning that road, that's who I lean to, but I hear this other issue, hear that no real problems have come up over all the years with this. And what I really wish you'd do is you'd each appoint a person, and I think you have those persons, and the two of you go out and settle it for both Vista West 1 and 3. Do it yourself. Because we don't live out there. I mean, if I lived right there by that gate, I wouldn't like that. And so my question would be the people who were against this, they don't live anywhere near there and they're not affected by it. And then the people that live there, they are affected by it. So I see both sides to the whole thing. And the gate thing isn't a bad idea, but I know these firemen well enough that if there was a gate there, or a little gate or a little fence like that's there now, if they needed to go through there, that big truck could go right over that gate and save that person. So I'm not sold on this idea of anybody's going to die over this thing. And I'm knocking on wood. No, I'm knocking on wood because I know these firemen and these sheriff's departments, they're not going to little gate stop them if they got to get there a minute early or whatever it is. So it's just gone on for so long and it seems like it's been okay, and I'm just in a quandary, y'all. I mean, because I see both sides, but well, if my house was sitting there, I wouldn't like this. And so Wyoming's backwoods was developed where these developers didn't think this thing through, and you have that issue out in the county. And so I would table this thing until we could get a legal opinion on who really owns the road and what the status is, because you're really asking us to, in essence, give you a legal decision. And Ms. Robinson, you've asked for more than I think we're allowed to give. We can't force anybody to sign any agreement or do anything else. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm in a quandary, and I'll leave it at that.
Can I ask my questions? Quick.
Commissioner Mill.
This is for staff. So if you want to come up here real quick, please. Either one of you, I don't care. We heard through the public comment from somebody that's been out there for quite a while that subdivisions own the roads. If the subdivision that wants to close the road owns the road, it's deeded over to them, then they would be the appropriate entity to make this petition, correct?
If I'm understanding you correctly, Commissioner, the subdivision that owns the road, if they make the motion. So in this situation, we had Vista West 1, actually Vista West 1 and at least one person from Vista West 3 that signed the petition. But Vista West 1's homeowners association voted on this. They are the ones that own this road, I believe, and but it is dedicated to the public.
Right,
So,
but yeah.
but they're the proper ones to make this,
Make the
to bring this
petition.
petition.
Yeah. It's 20 foot of the road. And that's the 20 feet is within the subdivision that's making the petition.
Correct.
Okay. They will, even if that 20 feet went to private or non-public use, the subdivision would still retain the ownership of that road. It wouldn't go to one of the neighboring homeowners, correct?
That would be my understanding of that.
Okay. And then if we did alter it to private use, at that point, it's a private road. How do we require them legally to put up a gate, put up a fence, put up whatever without a legal easement across it?
Commissioner, I don't know that it's necessarily a position where we can require them to put up the fence. I think it was that middle ground that was the suggestion.
Right.
So.
Okay.
So
At that point, it's private. So how do we? It'd have to be an agreement from them. I'm guessing. That's why I'm asking.
It is a bit of a confusing situation with this, but I think to say that we're granting the petition to return this to private, I guess it would essentially be a requirement that they put up the gate. But
And so we need like something in writing or something to uphold that condition, correct? Between the subdivision and the county.
I think that would be appropriate and something that I think it could be contained on a plat that may be sufficient for that. And Heather, if you have anything additional on that.
No, I think it's a really good question that you're raising. And I mean, I guess that if the folks that are petitioning are agreeable to it, then it's not an issue, whether it's really the county can enforce it. I think that's another question.
I have a question for the county attorney.
Commissioner North gets an opportunity to talk.
Sorry about that. But if I understand it right, Vista West 3 could actually put a gate up in right now without asking permission from Vista West One. Is that correct?
That's correct. They would just need to make sure they do it on their property.
Sure, but
within
if
their
they go
subdivision.
6 inches on that side, they could they could actually put a gate there whether Vista West One liked it or not.
That's correct, Commissioner.
Okay, so with that being said, we have made stipulations in the past when we grant variances or changes to plats, as far as making it so it's amenable to both Vista West 1 and 3 to put the gate in there.
Yes.
So that's something we could actually say that is the stipulation of this becoming, that 20 feet becoming private.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think, I guess to clarify that, it could be contained within a resolution. We could require that, I guess an option would be to table the matter and send it back to their homeowners association and have them vote. If you want an actual agreement on this, commissioners, have their homeowners association vote and say this is amenable to all of them, so everything is completely clear for the board.
Can we have Mr. Doctor come back up and see, since he is speaking for the homeowners association? Yeah, well, I mean, as far as the question goes, if that would be something that,
Mr. Chairman, the public
okay.
hearing portion is closed.
okay,
Yes,
all right.
Yep.
Sorry.
And Commissioner, I don't know that he would have authority to speak on behalf of the homeowners association for that specific term right at this moment.
question, County Attorney.
Okay.
This follows up with what you just said. You're a genius, kind of. I'm glad we hired you, Jared. My thought is, Madam County Attorney, if we table this pending some more research by you, which would give these homeowners a chance to settle this among themselves, I was going to propose that. And that's something we can do, isn't it? If the commissioners vote that way?
To table it for
Yes.
further review? Yes, Mr. Commissioner.
Because I just need another couple things answered about this, about who should be in control of this property. Because if it comes out that Vista West is in control of the property, it's really their property, I'm going to go along with Mr. Mill. If they're not, if there's some other legal authority that's there that makes it public and it's spread out among everybody, then I do like the issue if they can get together and have a gate. So, but for me, it's a legal issue, and that's all I have to say.
Commissioner Nicolason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have questions for you guys, but I have some discussion. So a couple things. You know, I have, as a real estate attorney, some deep feelings about this, and I think that it's really unfortunate that organically the situation is what it is. But looking at what the plat indicates and what the legal ownership and legal interests in that real estate indicate, it's kind of a bad situation. The bed was made at the time of the dedication, and now things are where they are. I think there's been maybe some confusion on what the legal right that the public has as by nature of that dedication. And it's not fee ownership, like we own our land. And if it's the homeowners association, or if it's the lots, and in some cases it's one, in other cases it's the other, it's really immaterial. What's material to this commission and why it's before us is whether or not we're going to give up the public's right, not our right, the public's right to use that. And I am concerned that the property owner, and we heard from him tonight at 1767 Grass Creek, is going to be definitely the most impacted. And the property owner just to the north of him, I think that if this is opened up, it's going to be a lot different. And I feel really bad about that. But legally, whether it's the next owner into Vista West 3 or the one on the very far end, they still have a legal right to cross that. And so even if they're not going to be impacted every day, if they have the legal right and we're taking it away for them to cross that property, I think that's a big deal. And I don't think that that can be discounted. So I think this is a hard balancing thing. I would say that it would be bad policy, I feel, to approve a vacation that essentially results in noncompliance with our subdivision regulations. I think that'd be bad precedent. The report from the viewer, our staff, says that the county encourages connecting roads from neighborhoods. We know that we have to have two ingress egress routes for Vista West 3. Maybe one hasn't been used forever or not that much, but that's the way that is. The Natrona County Fire Department, from our staff's report, prefers the subject road be an open public access road. So what I'm really concerned with is not only precedent, but what our policy is and what our long-term planning goals are, the protection of the public, not just the people that are going to be impacted by this, and our health, safety, and welfare in terms of the fire department. I just think that at the end of the day, we actually, in some sense, may be inclined and predisposed to do the same thing as commissioners, and that is, we've heard the word table come up. In my estimation, that if we leave the subject road dedicated to the public and not say anything about the fence being removed, then it's up to Vista West 3 to bring an action in court saying we want that unencumbered. And then those two parties, hopefully Vista West 3 and Vista West 1, will get together and figure it out. So I think there, in my mind, is the proper way is to preserve the public's right, but not go bust open a gate, not go tear up and put in new roads, and just basically say, we're going to leave it as is. And then when you people come back and say, well, here's what we propose, Vista West 1, Vista West 3, and we've had our meeting with our subdivision or our HOAs, and we agree that this is what we propose, and here's the key for the fire department or the access or the whatever. At that point, I think it's a slam dunk, no brainer for the county commissioners. So that's why I was quick to make the motion to leave the subject road dedicated to the public, and that's why I have concerns about any of these other options. Thanks, Mr. Chairman.
I thought that was a brilliant presentation, because leaving it at the status quo isn't a bad point, and it gets you all to go settle this among yourselves, your neighbors. I mean, we force something on somebody. I don't want to force anything on anybody out here. Lived with the problem for 40 years. You're Wyoming people. Seems to me like you've almost got it settled. That's what I would think, hearing everything. I just don't think it's a big safety issue as it's been made out to be. But I agree with about everything Mr. Nicolason said in terms of leaving it the way it is. Because the thing that I say to you all, we're not a court of law. And Mr. Nicolason says, hey, if we leave it this way, if you can't get it straight, you go hire your lawyers, and it's expensive, probably isn't worth it really in the long run. If you came into me, I wouldn't take your money. I'd just say, go shake hands and be neighbors. That's what I'd say. And that's really what I'm saying tonight. I think you're all smart people. You're all good people. I don't know why you can't settle this thing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for indulging me.
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Mill.
I like Commissioner Nicolaus's thinking. The one point or concern I have is 3510-401 has already been brought up, at least in the viewer's report, if nothing else. And so I'm concerned if we leave it as is, that statute would be used as a big stick to make sure one party gets their way over the other party. And so I'm not sure if leaving it as is a solution. I mean, it is a solution. It'd be really nice if the two subdivisions could actually work together and solve this so that it doesn't come to us and we don't act like King Solomon and split the baby. But I mean, in the end, it appears that one party is going to be upset one way or the other. I don't know.
Commissioner North.
Mr. Chairman, one thing I did here tonight is that just about everybody that came up that was in favor didn't have any problem with the gate. And even some of the ones that were against it didn't have a problem with the gate. That is one of the recommendations that staff presented. And it sounds to me like we already have an agreement from the people that are here, from what staff presented. And that would take care of the issue. Now, whether you have a lock on that gate or how you do it, there's different ways that you can do that. There's a lot of different ways that you can do that you can set that up so you can eliminate the traffic problem. You can eliminate the four-wheelers running back and forth fast. And there's things that you can do and still leave that open for access. I know for a fact that if the fire department or PD gets up there and they've got to get through a gate, it's not going to stop. Not this type of gate. So as far as emergency goes, and I'm speaking from experience on that, when you have to get somewhere, you get there in a hurry. And they carry tools that make it really easy to access that. So, I think we do have a solution. It's always difficult, but the fact that right now, Vista West 3 could put a gate up without saying anything to Vista West 1 at all, if they wanted to do it. Those are already private roads with private access. There's not really a whole lot of difference there. So, that's my feeling. Like I said, I'm going to stick with what I've already said as far as I think this ought to be, that 20 feet ought to be turned back over and they ought to be allowed to put a gate in there and allow access. So, in looking at the maps, Brian, are there two ways down from the north in there? How do you get into? If you come in off 6N.
6WN Road, there's just one. There's a one means of egress or entrance and egress in the neighborhood.
Okay.
Basically, it's a that section of the neighborhood is a big loop road, come in and out the same.
Okay. Well, okay, but it is a big loop.
Yeah.
Okay. It's not. So there is one access, but it's a loop.
Yes, it's
okay.
Yeah, you come in.
Yeah. So the way it sounded was that you drove in one way and it was dead end, and then you'd have to turn around and go back out. But that's not the case.
Oh no, it is a loop road. It's just one drive, basically access into the neighborhood and out. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
You're describing Westgate.
Any further discussion from the commission?
Call for the question.
Yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the right, we have Westgate.
Okay, so we'll call for the question. All in favor? Any opposed?
The question is whether we turn it to private. Is that Milne's motion?
Yeah.
And so
Are you in favor or against?
I was sorting that out,
No.
so I got a little confused, I'm sorry. I'd vote yes. Yeah. And I do that because I think it's Vista West's property.
And my vote on it is nay. So that motion fails.
Mr. Chairman, I'd make that motion again to leave that strip as a public road, the subject property as a public road.
Motion made by Commissioner Nicolason to leave it as a public road. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Milne. Any discussion?
Well, I do have. I just look at all these folks out here and I'm sure hoping you guys go settle this. Because if this passes, then we're just leaving it the way it is. So you all understand that. Just leaving it the way it is, and I'm not one who thinks Vista West 3 can just go build a road. I don't think that's true. I think there's easements that are involved, a lot of legal issues involved, very expensive. You're gonna make some lawyers happy if you guys can't settle this. So, so I'm willing to vote yes for just to leave the status quo that is how it is. So I vote yes.
We haven't got to that point yet, but any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
That motion passes. Okay. We will move on. I got a little bit out of order on this. We'll move back to contracts, agreements, and resolutions.
For the board,
What's that?
take about a 5-minute break.
Well, we'd like to keep moving through the agenda.
Make it 4.
Get in.
For what reason, Jack?
A little bit of discussion out here about this one.
Yeah. Could you possibly have a discussion maybe out in the hallway? We have some people that are here tonight that,
I could do it sooner than that. Get out there. Would you agree to meet with the board, your board, and our board, get together and get this model shit fixed out? This has been childish and juvenile.
What we're gonna have to do, we have to, but our hands are tied, and what we're gonna have to do is go ahead and this and this.
Your board needs to get together, our board needs to get together. Thank you.
thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Can't do it, it's closed.
Okay, we'll bring up the transportation services agreement between the Natrona County Board of County Commissioners and SkyWest Airlines fourth quarter MRG request. That was asked to be pulled off consent and put on its own. And so do I have a motion on that?
I would make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve the MRG agreement for discussion.
I have a motion for discussion to approve the MRG by Commissioner Nicholas. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by
For the discussion.
Commissioner Laird. Commissioner Nicholas.
And since he seconded it, if Commissioner Laird wants to go first, I'd defer to him.
When this first started, I said I would support this for 1 year. The 1 year is coming up at the end of the year. And so I'm going to support it, but I just need information from SkyWest. I'd like to see why they can't make this on their own. We're putting a lot of money into keeping this airline here. We get a lot of letters from business people that want us to support it and point out things a lot of the general public doesn't know about who uses that comes in from Salt Lake and the business transactions that are made. And even the state of Wyoming has supported this, and I hope they're still paying their percentage. Is that true? So, but I don't think I would vote for this after the first of the year unless SkyWest comes in here and convinces me that shows me something where I can understand that they really need this money to provide our people this air service. We've relied on the airport board that we appoint, and they're all good people there, and they're working on this very hard and very diligently, and they're recommending we do this. So I'm gonna accept that through the first of the year, but I really would like to see something from SkyWest.
Commissioner Nicholas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Laird, I agree with that. I think that this is a lot of money. And I think that our citizens would probably like to hear directly from SkyWest. I would say that I think we're headed in a good direction. The actual for quarter 1 and quarter 2 was about $170,000 less than what we had budgeted. So quarter 3 again was moving in the right direction. We were able to use a significant portion for quarter 3. Quarter 4 should be the airline's busiest quarter. I'm hopeful, and I think historically it has been. This is a hard situation because not everybody uses the airlines. Not everybody uses the airport in this county. But I think it does provide a substantial economic benefit. I was just talking to somebody today, and he and his family sought medical care in Salt Lake, and they were very grateful to have that Salt Lake flight. And I know there are also some physicians that come up and treat patients in Wyoming here in Casper coming up from Salt Lake. So I think it is important for businesses and other community services. We've made progress when I say that I think we're moving in a positive direction. This summer, they moved from the smaller planes to a 76 passenger jet. That helps with their profitability. And I think it's a dramatic increase in that profitability by just adding those 20 seats or so. Every other airport in the state of Wyoming in some ways financially supports their airline, whether it's through the feds or through the state. Every other airport is supported by government funding. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying it's, I think, the nature of that industry, which I'm not commercial airlines. I mean, that's not one that I support, from beginning to end. But in any event, to Commissioner Laird's other point, under this transportation services agreement, there are specific requirements for what SkyWest is to provide, and specific data, specific operating profits, losses attributable to the service, cost information. And I do know and have confirmed that the airport reviews that information as soon as it comes in, so on a monthly basis. So maybe there's more that can be provided in terms of information, and maybe it should be provided directly to us, not just the airport, but the agreement does have in it, in those paragraphs 3, 4, 5, 6, I think those are the primary ones where they do provide some information and reporting, and we do have the right to audit. So all those things, knowing this is maybe not a benefit that everybody sees as well as they see the county motor graders going up and down the roads, I still think it's one of those important things to our community, and I hope we can support it.
Commissioner North.
I've got several real problems with this. Number one, 3 years ago when this was first brought to us, it was supposed to be a stopgap, and that was all it was supposed to be. And yet here we are down the road funding this again. And I believe that it's our responsibility to go out and find out better ways to do things. And throwing money at things is not always the best way to do this. I have another problem with this because this wasn't even presented. This is asking for an additional $440,000, actually more than that, $443,000 additional for the next 3 months. That's what we spent the first quarter of this year. That shocked every one of us when we saw that initial bill, because we weren't expecting that, because we had seen nothing but low bills previous to that. I'm sorry, but at this point in time, I don't trust SkyWest. And it's not a matter of, it's just, there's no guarantee. This is an open-ended checkbook. I feel like we have a fiduciary responsibility to the citizens of this county to spend that money wisely, and I don't believe that this is spending this money wisely. I look at this and the numbers that I've got in front of me, and it almost looks like fuzzy math, because this time around, $463,464 for 3 months. I can't see that those numbers add up. Last month, we had a request, and it was substantially less than that. This is normally the highest time of the year when you have a lot of travelers. And yet SkyWest is still asking for a full benefit, the full amount. I don't believe we're in the business to continually support companies that aren't even based in Wyoming. If we're bringing companies into this state, that's one thing. And we're helping because we're helping our economy grow and everything else. But when we're sending money to St. George, Utah, and we can't get the numbers, I have still never seen the numbers from SkyWest as far as telling me what the representation is between those flights when people originate their flight from Casper, stay on Delta, and then end up at a longer distance, because they get reimbursed for that second half of that leg. We may have the right to audit, but I haven't seen those numbers, and I haven't seen the justification as far as I'm concerned, and because of that, I cannot support this in any way.
Commissioner Mill.
Yeah, might as well throw in my 2 cents. A lot of this, I agree with a lot of what's been said. I think everybody's starting to see a little bit of loss of appetite for this. With that being said, though, the economic benefit that's potential, does it outweigh what we're doing now? Thing is if we don't do this right, if Delta leaves, getting them back isn't going to happen. The different events, the different economic stimulus that we can see coming in through, whether it's the college basketball, the different programs, to that we see with the medical flights, the people that are going to medical down to Salt Lake, whether it's just whatever it is. Yeah, this isn't the greater as Peter said or somebody said, but the economic portion of this, I believe, currently still outweighs the distaste I have for it. I would like to see more involvement, more support from the municipalities for this program. Majority of the people or businesses that see the benefit of this are not in the county, but it's the county that's carrying the water. It'd be nice if some other support was out there as well, but that's all I got to say.
Commissioner Laird.
I just think the city ought to kick in.
Well, I'll give my 2 cents on this too. It is getting to a point that it's a little hard to swallow at times to be writing these, but at the same time, it's very imperative. I take the viewpoint of I agree with Jim. You're not going to, you let Delta go, you're not going to get them back. I'd like to see another airline come in here. I'd like to see that done as quickly as we can. But if you don't approve something like this and Delta leaves, now you've created a monopoly. And if you don't think that the price is going to go up on tickets for United out of here to Denver, then you're sorely mistaken. And at the same time, we're putting in our share, but the state is putting in their share, and they haven't walked away from this either because they see what the benefit is of keeping air travel into each one of these cities. So I'm for it. I'm not loving it, but I'm for it. But I really want to see something else happen, whether we bring in, I look back and I know times were different back in the 80s, and we had 747s coming in here from Frontier and Northwest or Western Airlines and all the old ones. But I feel that there's got to be another airline out there that is not going to put us through this. United's not putting us through this, to my understanding. So if we can really work hard on as quickly as we can getting somebody else in there, I feel that that's the best benefit for this county. But letting Delta go and just saying, well, it's just too much money, I disagree with that. I think that we're going to put ourselves in a bad situation.
Mr.
Commissioner North.
Have we got positive confirmation from the state that they will continue to pay this?
My understanding is, yes, they are.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion passes. All right, the next one that I have on the list is the Porter Creek naming. Do I have a motion on that?
Accept the name, it's just the Porter Creek.
Motion made by Commissioner Laird, second by Commissioner Nicolason. Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Then the last one I have on here is the RFP for the investment funds. Do I have a motion on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'd make a motion that we approve the RFP for the investment funds so that we can get that moving and get that taken care of and sent out.
Motion made by Commissioner North. Do I have a second? Second by Commissioner Nicolason. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, I think that gets us caught back up, so we'll now open it up to public comment.
Rosemary Saban, Natrona County resident. I take notice that between September 5th and September 19th, Mr. Friel, you're no longer on the Amoco Reuse Agreement Board, and Jim Milne is. I recall you getting rather defensive about me portraying you as corrupt and self-serving. Pointed out that I spoke to Glenn Taylor. I did with good reason. Glenn's an honest man. I heard from a realtor that showed up at my property that there was something going on underhanded between you and the city and that whole deal. So I asked Glenn Taylor about it before I went blabbing my mouth. You claim that you do what's right, and you do it by the book. Which book? Karl Marx, A Communist Manifesto? I'll never catch you doing anything less. How long after the September 5th meeting did you start trying to get off that board? Your actions seem to reflect an admission of guilt, or you're guilty by association. Maybe that will stop with your losing Bruce Nell, your partner in crime. $7 million in Amoco. That's not general fund money.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Nicholas.
as a point of decorum, it sure seems to me that there's some incendiary language by the that's unnecessary. And if you have a question for Mr. Friel or for our chairman, maybe you just ask him why he got off that board instead of making these accusations, which I think one could, think may be getting pretty close to defamation. So I'm not providing legal advice, but it just seems to me that as a matter of decorum, that maybe the speaker can act in maybe a not so confrontational manner.
Well, if our chairman wouldn't put himself in a position to be seen that way, $200 plus million for a solar farm, $36 million for a library that we voted no to. Grants are still public money. And if they build a building that's over dimensions of what's currently allocated, it's still more taxpayer dollars funding a library that we voted no to. 446 or 463,000 for the airport here now? What? I don't know what you guys are doing. Government is, my dad came up with the perfect analogy today. Government is like a pig. You start out with a 13.5-pound pig and you feed it a half a coffee can of coffee or grain, and it grows and it grows and it grows, and you feed it a little bit more, and pretty soon you got a 1,200-pound pig that does nothing but stand around and consume. That's what our government does. This, and why we didn't get public discussion in this, you guys do this executive order, is what it amounts to. This is not a communistic regime. I went to the Revenue Committee. We've been talking about property taxes for the people, the residents of this county and all over the state. I went to Revenue Committee in Sheridan. I went to the Revenue Committee here. I invited you guys all to show up. Dave North, Dallas Laird, they showed up. Where were you guys?
I was in the hospital. Thank you very much.
Okay. Did you go to Sheridan? No. Did you guys show up for Rocky Mountain Power? No. What do you guys say? You have no control. You can't help the people. Who are you representing?
Well, at the time, I was representing my folks. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, the other two, I don't understand. It's not your guys' money. You're not helping the people of this county. It's always excuse after excuse, and then you don't give the people time to talk. Who do you think pays your wages? We do not work for you. Thank you.
Just comment, Rose, we didn't approve $30 million for the library.
You approved going and getting a grant.
Well, we didn't approve any money, though. And we clearly stated that what you said and what I say is the voters voted down the library, but what they voted down was the tax to pay for it. They didn't actually say we don't need a library. They just said we don't want to pay for it. And so when the library came and approached us at that meeting, I was very clear and said that, I said that exact thing to them, that the voters have said they don't want to pay for this. I'd like to see a new library, but I would certainly never vote for a tax on our people for the library. There's a lot behind that, but that's what was said. And you heard, I think, the conversation on the airport. I told them I would go for that for 1 year. I do need more information, but we're all concerned with it. But I appreciate you coming here. I don't think Chairman Friel's a criminal. So, you know, what he does is his business with respect to that, but I certainly don't think there's a man on here who's a criminal.
Anyone else for public comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. I just want to, just fairly quickly, hopefully I'm still talking here. I want to,
Could I get your name and address?
oh,
please?
Tony Locke. I'm a Natrona County resident.
You
So-
look like him.
Thank you. Or maybe not thank you. But I just want to put my opposition out there on this, ongoing on this transportation services agreement. I think any kind of minimum revenue guarantees for the, billion-dollar companies, we're talking about, welfare for the connected is, for lack of a better term. And I think that when we do this, when we throw money at these, this is especially seems strange when you consider the fact that the quarterly allotments that were given previously, they undercut those numbers. Now we turn around and we throw $463,000 at this in a quarter. That seems ridiculous. That might be the wrong word, but that seems extreme for what we should really be trying to do here in terms of getting this skinny down to something reasonable and getting a business in here that's actually trying to do the right thing for the people and with the people's money. They're not incented to cut their costs to do things efficiently. When we continue to do that, and when we turn around and we increase the number like that, we disincent them. And so that's where we're going, and that's a rabbit hole I think it's dangerous to go down. And again, I would consider when you give people those that minimum guarantee, that's welfare for the connected as far as most people are concerned. Yes, it has helped people. Yes, having these services helps a lot of people, I'm sure. But at the end of the day, we're talking about everybody's money here. So I just want to voice my opposition to this ongoing, and in my opinion, this is an issue that needs to be resolved. And yeah, it's probably at every single level, city, county, state, everywhere, but it needs to be looked at much harder, and maybe we need to find a better partner. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment?
Terry Wingert, this is kind of loud. 1427 Horn Church. And I'd like to compliment all of you. I know what it's like sitting up there. It's not easy. The decisions are tough. And believe you me, I've laid in bed many nights when I was up here thinking, did I say the right thing or do the right thing or vote the right way? And sometimes, a lot of times you're not going to please everybody. But I did want to say one thing. I get around this county quite a bit. I deliver meals on wheels. I've been doing it for several years. And there's three main things that's on people's mind. And I'm sure some of you are aware of this, or all of you are aware of it. Number one is property taxes. Number two is the electrical rates. And number three is a hospital. Now, I know you have nothing to do with the hospital anymore, but a lot of people are talking about the difficulties going on up at Banner. But I know you guys are concerned about this community, this county, and I wish people would just think for a second before they get up here and bawl you out, because it's not an easy job, and I appreciate everything you do. Now, I realize there's a lot of things, sometimes the audience is going to agree with you, and sometimes they're not going to agree with you. Sometimes there's going to be you guys up here wavering back and forth, which I understand. I heard that tonight. And I wanted to find out, Now, back to this Vista West situation tonight, isn't that a private development out there? And the county doesn't take care of the roads?
It's fine.
So I really think it's up to the Vista West people to handle that situation, one way or the other. So I couldn't quite understand what you guys did tonight with that. Did you just throw it back to them, or what'd you do? There was opinions going back and forth, and I didn't quite understand that. What'd you do to?
Just left it the status quo, Terry. We didn't change anything.
You didn't change anything. That's what I thought. Okay. Well, anyway, thanks for your work. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else for public comment? All right, we'll go commissioner comments. Commissioner Laird.
I think plenty has been said, and I'm ready to go home for dinner.
Commissioner North.
I don't have anything tonight.
Commissioner Milne.
Yeah, first, I'd like to apologize to everybody for snapping a little bit at the public comment. If Rosemary is still here, I'd offer apology, but if she's watching on YouTube later, sorry. Just tired. It's been a long month. To address the Amico board discussion though, initially with the Amico board, with this current board of county commissioners, Dallas initially requested the board and then asked to be taken off of it due to personal reasons. Steve stepped in at that time as a stopgap and then later requested that I take it because of potential future conflicts due to the future development of that board with the properties. And he did not want to be seen as in conflict or anything. And that's why I'm now on the board. So that's the history of the AMCO board for this current iteration of the Board of County Commissioners. And that's all I've got.
Commissioner Nicolason.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, we heard tonight a question, why were some of us not at that Revenue Committee meeting? You know, the fact of the matter is that I personally, and I think all five of us, have regular discussions with all kinds of people, and not just our constituents, but with our legislators and with people down in the state at the Department of Revenue. I know I do, and I know I have been, and I know I was talking with people, some of our legislators that very day. You know, today we heard from the Collective Health Trust and the hospital. We even heard from the Memorial Hospital Board trustee, Mr. Bell, and I think we heard of some significant investment by the Collective Trust into our community. I appreciated that. And we also heard of some specific tangible results in terms of hiring and patient care from our hospital CEO, Lance Porter. And I'd encourage the public to inquire with Banner Health for some updates, because I think there have been some in the past few months, and I think that those were maybe not as apparent or few and far between earlier this year and last year. We have to make hard decisions. I think tonight Grass Creek was certainly one of them. The MRG is certainly one of them. But I know and I think we all do our best on each of these issues. We don't always agree, but I think you know, we have good debate, good discussion, and so I appreciated that tonight.
Your timer went off like 3 minutes ago. Just saying.
I gave him my time.
We don't do that here. The only thing I want to add is during our discussion on the MRG, we have people here from Fly Casper that are really working their hindsight off trying to resolve this problem. And each and every one of us that sat here tonight that said that we don't want to see this continue, we want to do what we can do to fix it, they're all in agreement with it. They're shaking their heads that, yes, we agree, we don't want to keep paying this. So there is hard, diligent work being done behind the scenes, and I just hope that, we as a commission, I know we don't want to do it, but I hope we just don't give up. Let's see if we can get this to the finish line and fix the problem itself. Jim, I appreciate you explaining everything that went on. It's exactly as Jim said. Dallas was on there, got off for specific reasons. As the chair, everybody else was busy, and they had multiple boards that they were on. I filled in as a stopgap measure, and then now Jim has taken over on that board. I don't even need to go into it. What I would really like to see from this point forward, and I know I'll never see it in the amount of time I'm on this commission, but I would really like to see people come up here and be personable and have a grown-up conversation instead of yelling all the time and looking for a reason to make us look like we're doing something wrong. And I'm going to leave that at that. Taking personal digs at me and having it is what it is. So yeah. With that, I have nothing else to add tonight, so we will stand